What up, what up, what up? It has been a wild morning. It's going to get wilder. We're going to talk about some LEC. Here to join me on the Shark Cove morning edition is the one, the only, Mr. Ian J. How are you?
What's going on? Just scrambling, trying to build these lineups.
Yeah, we're going to, I haven't built anything yet. Obviously, as some of you may know, I've been going through a plumbing issue. It seems to be resolved and was of very little significance in my life, but it looked like it could have been a huge issue. I'm not entirely convinced that the maintenance man has actually fixed it. I don't know. Nevertheless,
more important things for now.
Yeah. Nevertheless, this is not as important as the fire one that caused my previous neighbor to realize that he could no longer live alone. That was nuts. I was, they were evacuating the building. I was sitting here, building lineups on NFL Sunday. It was a wild time. So always a good time when you have a bunch of lineups that you reserve but don't even have dummy lineups in. So hey, we crushed winner take alls. I feel like I've been on fire ever since I don't know, ever since somebody said that certain people don't play it right. I don't know if I'm that person, but I've been on fire since.
We'll never know.
Never know. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about it. We've got the LEC here after a wild LPL day that yet again, I do feel the need to point out that yet again, I think, if you played some LCK teams, you were probably okay. I don't know, was the takedown was an LCK one, right? Or did that change? I know you were second in the main GPP.
Yeah, the guy that won, it's funny, I said it earlier on in the night that this guy that won the main GPP was not going to get beat because of how goofy his team was. He had a 3-2-1. Well, he had his team slot with his captain, but he had a 3-2-1 players, and he just bing, bing, bing. I mean, he had Light for 100, Ollie for 100, Missing for 87. He just had all the pieces that you'd want.
And then he had
DRX team
too, right?
crushed. Yeah, DRX team. He had Piosik and Zeka and Deft captain. So it was a weird team, but hey, good for him.
Goes to show you that the LCK, time and time again, you don't think it should happen, but it does. And look, DRX shouldn't even won that series at the beginning. KT was in full control of that game before they threw it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And LNG finds a way yet again. It's the weirdest thing. They are always optimal despite whatever their scores are. If they were the first game of the slate and they went for 80s, I would just go and bet unders on the rest of the games the rest of the day, just because that they're not going to be high scoring. It's the strangest thing, but nevertheless.
It's funny, I had no idea until you said that in the chat. I didn't even think about it.
Every single slate that they've won, they've been optimal, but they've never had I think these are the highest scores that they've put up. I mean, they might have had a game or two like that, but they don't tend to be a team that everybody is on board. When I look at my projections, typically I'm right on 3 or 4 of them, and then there's just one guy that just doesn't do anything. Today it was Tarzan. Tomorrow it could be Ale. I don't know. So yeah. But we do have the LEC slate. I know you have to build lineups. I have to build lineups. Anybody watching probably has to build lineups. So let's run through this and, let's talk about some of these spots that we have. Let me change my screens and then bring this and then share this. No, not that. Let's do this. Boom. There we go. Bring this down here. All right, so the first game that we have is going to be Rogue and SK. I don't want to dismiss any team, certainly not on a best-of-1 series, but I don't have a ton of hope for SK, and I don't think that I'm going to have a ton of them in my lineups. Although they've been playing better, it's just hard to play these bottom-tier teams against Rogue, unless the narrative that you have is that Rogue is going to be trolly, like we've seen with LNG recently, like we've seen with EDG. But I think they are fighting for that #1 seed, which is important because they get to pick then who they play in the playoffs.
Yeah, these spots are always weird. I mean, I follow it pretty closely from a fantasy standpoint, but some of these these narrative things and how they might tend to go over the years, I don't know a lot about. So it's different for me. I mean, Rogue to me is always just like the most rock solid team in the LEC, and I've felt that way for many splits now. And so I tend to be not on the side of betting against Rogue for the most part. And if something weird happens, it's something weird happens. But I think it's hard to call, and you never know. If Rogue tries hard and something weird happens, SK could still have like a shitty game. I don't know. I'm not super interested in SK, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, when I take a look at the way that they profiled, the problem is that you just don't see a big enough. You just don't have a big enough sample when it comes to SK, because they only have this handful of wins, and some of those have not been super impressive. Now, on the other side of things, they've been a team that just has kind of rolled over and died. So I just don't know how much exposure I want to this game, even in cash games, which we'll get to. But the game that I think that will be very popular, and rightfully so, is Misfits and Astralis. Misfits comes in, a fairly big favorite, priced completely way too cheap in most of their positions. Vithio, obviously not the case. I guess the carries are expensive. But playing an Astralis team that just has given up a lot of kills, extends a lot of games, and has been a fantasy bonanza of late on the other side. But so is Misfits.
Sorry, I think I was muted there. You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Having some AirPod issues. I think they're dead. Yeah, I was saying Mersa is also expensive. Yeah, I mean, Misfits is like, I love Misfits. I always have. And I think this game is clearly the game to target. It's kind of, for me, in the same mold as the JDG V5 from the LPL slate. Obviously, that is going to come with ownership. I expect Misfits to be the chalkiest team on the slate. I think it's rightfully so. But anytime you get the chalk condensing there, you have a chance in tournaments or anything really to veer another direction and know that you'll kind of be a little more on your own. So I don't, never going to blame anybody, but I do think that just from a raw equity standpoint, scoring the most points, playing the best plays, play the guys that fuck. I think Misfits and Vithio in particular are kind of the guys.
Yeah, I think you can also kind of, if you want to take a stance on that and play that game and just lower your overall ownership and make it unique, getting away from Vithio seems like kind of a scary proposition, but I do think that it's a viable way, and just hope that he doesn't have a pop-off game, because certainly can happen where, when we see them playing better teams, G2, Rogue, Vitality, Fnatic, like the good teams, he needs to come and play and be good for them to win those games. If he isn't and he's having an off day, they're not going to win. Against Astralis, I don't think they need his best performance. And so that's something to keep in mind. It's not financial advice. I would never tell you to fade Vithio as a good play, but it's definitely a play.
I was going to say, I'm just a guest on the Shark Cove. I don't endorse this message at all. I haven't projected for like 4 more points than any other player on the slate. I just think he's awesome. Like, the guy's awesome.
Do too.
I don't know how else to put it. I'm playing Vithio a lot. That's all.
So the next game is one that I've seen chatted about quite a bit, is going to be Vitality and the Mad Lions. There is this perception that Vitality has not been very good, and I think it's a very justified perception of this team. However, although it feels like they lost their games last week, they did not, in fact, lose their games last week. They won both of them. I think this team is coming into form. They had a bad week to start off the season, but since then they've only dropped 4 games. It's just the way that they've dropped them against the teams that they dropped them. I don't even think that they're that bad. I mean, look, outside of that first weekend, they lost to Rogue, they lost to Fnatic, and they lost to Excel. The bad loss was 2 weeks ago against BDS. So, I have an issue trying to lock in the Mad Lions, who have looked probably worse than Vitality. I mean, the exceptions in Vitality were sky high, and they've not delivered. But the Mad Lions have just not delivered at all, whether it be on expectations or just actual gameplay. They're on a 6-game losing streak, losers of 8 of their last 9. They're not clicking right now.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I would say that these were two of the most enigmatic teams in the LEC, but it seems like right now Mad Lions just like aren't very good. I do think they're live in this game. Vitality is a weird one. I made the joke at the start of the season, or the start of the split, that they were like the Miami Heat. I don't know if you remember when LeBron and Wade and Bosh all came together. They got off to a really slow start, and obviously the media piled in. It just kind of happens with super teams or whatever you want to call them. I think time to time, and they're slow to gel, and I think they're kind of coming around. I don't love Vitality. I think that they're an inconsistent team, but I could see this one going either way. I'd give the slight edge to Vitality, but I don't mind playing either side in DFS. I think it has a chance to get bloody, and it has a chance to play a little slow. It just kind of depends on who dictates tempo. I don't know. Their combined kills per minute are pretty similar. I always think of Mad Lions as like a bloodier team and Vitality as not playing as bloody this year, but maybe that's off. This game is just hard to call. I mean, I could see it going fast or slow. I could see either team winning. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, 2 things to keep in mind when you're looking at those like overall numbers for Mad Lions. They did have the 24-19 Fiesta that BDS threw. They did have the 24-29 game at the beginning of the split against SK. Those were, I want to say that they were outliers, but there are 2 outliers within one sample. So, maybe there's something to that. But, throughout this loss streak, they've only given up 14, 13, 18, 7, 17, and 13 kills. This isn't the same Mad Lions team in losses that we've seen in years past. On the other side of things, Vitality has been a pretty consistent 16 to 17 kills in a win, maybe 18 or 19, but they have been a team that gives up a lot of kills when they lose. This is, the epitome of a snowball team. They kind of get the snowball going. Usually they dominate the first kill. I don't know if that's actually true. It just feels like it. But they get a lead to begin the game, and then they throw it in the late mid game. I just don't know if Mad Lions is going to be able to do that. We do have a Carzzy revenge game narrated. They lost the first time. It was the first time Vitality was playing against each other or playing as a group. I like Vitality. I like them pretty strong here. I just don't know if I think that they're going to put up great fantasy numbers. This is a team that, I don't know, man. It feels like they come in, get their business done. They just want to win, and they don't care what it looks like.
Yeah, I think. Where do you think the ownership is going to go on this particular game? I kind of think Vitality is going to be pretty popular. I mean, they're pretty cheap for a favorite, but like they're a short favorite. But I think the perception has got to be just like Mad Lions sucks and people want to play against Mad Lions. So I kind of feel like Vitality might get more owned than a normal like minus 150 or whatever they are. Or what are they? Oh, they're minus 210. So yeah, I think they're going to be fairly popular, and I think Mad Lions could provide, like you mentioned about Vitality giving up a lot of kills in their losses. Mad Lions could provide some good leverage on this slate, I think. But yeah, the game's hard to call. I also slightly lean Vitality, but
yeah, I wonder where it's going to go because, while they're a minus 200 favorite, we have, a minus 500, minus 385, and a minus 600. The smallest favorite is a minus 186 in G2 versus Excel, which is the next game on the slate. This is another one that I'm targeting. Excel has really picked up the pace in terms of allowing kills, getting kills, just being an overall better competitive team than what we saw at the beginning of the year or just throughout their history as a whole. And G2 has been, that team where they don't necessarily get the most kills every slate or give up the most kills every slate, but they're usually like second or third. They're there. So I love this game. I love both sides of it. G2 is not overly expensive except for Broken Blade. Broken Blade is very expensive, but the rest of these guys are super, super cheap.
Yep, I agree with you. I think both sides of this game are very playable. I think Broken Blade could be a little bit low owned in GPP compared to his upside, just based on the price and how people are going to build. But I don't know. I haven't thought a ton about it. Like G2 are just expensive enough where people might have to come off Broken Blade to fit whatever pairings they want with G2. So you might get a little ownership discount on him, and we all know he has like some of the most upside for any top laner in the league. So I like that angle. Patrick is obviously a guy that you always are going to like in a win, or you figure to. So yeah, I'm with you. I really like this game a lot. I think you can mix and match it a lot of ways with a lot of different pairings, and has a chance to find itself into some really strong lineups, I think.
Yeah, and you can do, like I have it on the screen here, you can do a mid captain, with caps, and then you get 4 misfits, which I think is an attractive way of doing things. If you're looking for like a cheaper team, I'm not sure that there is one cheaper than G2 that I like, unless you want to go down to like a Mad Lions or Astralis or something like that. And you think, well, obviously you're not going to go Astralis in this. I mean, I shouldn't say obviously. Misfits had that 30-22 game against G2, which was game sack season. Last game on the slate before we kind of like talk how these teams fit together. Fnatic versus BDS. This is a game like I just really don't have much interest in. Fnatic has become the polar opposite of what they've always been. Last year it was like, how do I get as much Fnatic in my lineups as possible without being a complete donkey? Because I know that they're going to be the highest scoring team on the slate, and it felt bad sometimes. You were like, the smart playing is to avoid them, but like, dude, they scored the most points. Like it's just like JDG last night. They were the most owned dog, but you know what? They scored a lot of points. You got to play them. Well, you don't have to.
As do their opponents. Yeah, they just create good game environments for sure.
But that's not the case with Fnatic. Now, BDS has been at times a team that is fun to target because they do seem to have those environments. But I think as the split has progressed, we've seen a more timid or tame BDS as they've played a little less reckless. Now, I don't know if being eliminated from playoffs or close to it will change that, and they'll go a little bit crazy. I think that they're still in the hunt for it, as I recall. So let me take.
I think BDS is eliminated.
Let's take a look.
BDS is eliminated, I think.
Yes, you are correct. Yes,
well,
BDS are out.
Fnatic, I think, should be trying really hard and probably have their A game up, because I think they're going for the 1 seed. I mean, don't they do the thing where you get to pick your opponent or something like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the question that you have to ask yourself at that point is, do you think that BDS just kind of like tries to push the pace, tries to do these things, or they take pride in playing the spoiler? I would venture that BDS is going to be a team that you want to target on Saturday and then even into Sunday, but maybe not today. Like, I just feel like if BDS can get this win here, they're going to try hard. I mean, it's a nice exclamation point on their season that has been a little bit trying at times. Plus, it's a Adam revenge game. He would love to win and give a loss over to his old team.
Yeah, I've been saying all split, or I mean, for once the makeup of these teams started to kind of show itself, that I think BDS is like a relatively quality team. They're like even gold at 15. Their gold spend percentage is close to even, whereas like teams like SK are like -9%, Astralis is -4%. Like BDS is a somewhat capable team. So to me, I think that they're gonna play this one, like they're gonna try to win, and they're gonna try to play their best, I think. And yeah, I just tend to agree with you that this game will likely be somewhat slow, because I think, like I said, I think BDS will try to spoil. I think Fnatic's trying their best to get the 1 seed, and I don't see this one being much of a bonanza. Obviously, anything can happen, like always. Like in tournaments, it's silly to sit here and say this can't happen, this can't happen, because anything can happen, and like any GPP lineup is viable as long as you construct it smartly. But this is not a game where I'm like going to be really heavy on the players. I think a one-off Fnatic team is probably pretty fine for your GPP lineups. I think that there's a really good chance that they take care of business here. I mean, they're a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question ends up being like, do you think that it's a sneaky play to go ahead and play Fnatic? I mean,
I know they'll be popular.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I was concerned that Razork was going to be out. I know that they had announced Maxi, but it looked
Yeah,
like
somebody said that. What is that? I didn't know about anything about that.
yeah, he was sick or something like that, and they brought up Maxi, but Maxi played yesterday. Maxi played yesterday for the ERL Fnatic team, so I don't know. Maybe Razork's okay. I haven't seen anything additional on that, so I'm just gonna operate with the assumption that he's in and not play him at all.
Yeah,
just leave him out of my stacks there.
Yeah.
So
Twitter has anything. I'm gonna check Twitter while you talk. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, so from a cash game perspective, I think you can almost pair any of these two teams. They're large enough favorites. Is there where are you staying away from in cash? I mean, I think that the obvious trio would be Rogue, Misfits, and Fnatic. Vitality and G2 are where you're taking some chances, and I think you can probably fit. I know you can do a top captain, Misfits, and Rogue. If you're playing heads up, that might be a way that you go because you can get 4 Misfits in there, and then you can get comp as well. So it's a pretty attractive lineup, I think.
Yeah, I think in traditional like double up head to head, non-winner take all cash games, I think that I probably want 4 Misfits most of the time. I mean, I just think their upside is so high, and they're good enough favorites to win. It's just a situation where I would just want their guys, and then I would just try to figure out the best combos that I could find that had Rogue and Fnatic, and if I had to mix and match, I would feel kind of okay about that. I always prefer to stack, but sometimes it just doesn't work out, and maybe you can get a little extra at captain if you do a little mixing and matching. And when they're huge favorites like that, I don't mind that in double ups.
Yeah, I think what you can do, I just played with it a little bit. I think Misfits fits perfectly with Vitality. If you feel like Vitality beats Mad Lions, I mean, that's an optimal lineup right there. You can get a mid captain with G2 as well. You are sacrificing and going down to a support captain with Fnatic, so I don't think that you need to do that. You can go with Rogue and go with a top captain, and maybe you can kind of upgrade that to possibly like a jungle captain if you wanted to add a extra layer of risk and go with like a G2 in the team slot because they're significantly cheaper. But that's probably where I would go in cash. How do these other teams fit together? If we don't have Misfits and we went like G2 and Rogue, do they fit well? I mean,
you can actually fit, you can play here at captain with Fnatic if you want to.
Oh, okay.
So there's ways to go. I'm probably not the best person to ask on that. I oftentimes would just be lazy and just play like whatever I'm running in WTAs and cash and.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know some people that watch this play a lot of cash, and I think that there's something to be said about just going for the safety and just understanding that it's a long-term thing. I think it's very similar to the way that you look at winner take alls, and I think it's a smart way to look at it. Like, you obviously have your style, you have your lineups. They're not 100% easy to predict, but I have a pretty good idea what you're going to play. But your theory behind it is that you only have to win so many of these times to be profitable in that. And if you know that I know what you're going to play and I play something different, and then Nathan does the same thing and we're in the same one, you've automatically got an advantage over the long run. And that's the same thing with playing these big favorites in cash. Like, sometimes you lose, but you should win more often than you lose, and your ROI should be positive as long as you're staying consistent with the amount that you're entering and the games that you're playing.
Right. Like, so my sort of the way I view it for cash games on a slate like this. So we've got this Misfits game that seems like kind of an outlier from a total or a kills perspective. And Misfits is also a decent favorite. If Misfits were let's say this total was just in line with the Vitality Mad game and Misfits were, minus 240 or whatever, and their projections weren't that crazy, I would probably look for ways, if I could, to play Rogue with Fnatic and just play the 2 biggest favorites and, try to get as safe as I could and just put the onus on everyone else to beat my 2 winners, basically. But when you have a team like Misfits today or V5 last night, where they're good enough favorites, but the total is massive, I tend to prioritize that. So I'll be doing my best to get 4 misfits in, even in double ups, even though they're not, the biggest favorite. But so it kind of depends on where the huge outliers lie in terms of the total.
Yeah, and like the total on Bovada for the G2 Excel game is kind of strange. They have it at 23.5, which seems incredibly low, but they're not giving you the option to bet the over. They're just going to give you plus money to bet the under, which just is super frustrating because 23.5 seems way too low for that game. So,
yeah, I agree.
Go ahead. Okay.
No, I agree. That's all.
Nothing stay. Look, we know where Chris is going to be. Number one Mad hater. Look, I can't hate on Mad. Like, my biggest win in LOL DFS came at the hands of Kiana in Aloya's command against Gen G. Like, just wonderful, wonderful day. So always will be thankful for that day.
Yeah, the weird. There's a couple like weird projection things that stick out a lot for me today. Like I have Carzy like way lower than every carry. By way, I mean like 2 to 5 points, but like he stands out like a sore thumb when I look at the carries. The guy just does nothing like so far this year compared to most carries. It's crazy. Like 61% kill participation is like 3 or 4% lower than everybody. 24% kills, 3 or 4% lower than everybody, than the whole field. It's wild. Like he's just been really bad from a fantasy standpoint. And then a few others like Misfits, Schlatan, 63% kill participation and 15 kill share. Like, I mean, obviously you mix and match him if you're multi-entering, but Schlatan is a guy that I'm not prioritizing in stacks. I mean, obviously you have to play 4 of the 5 and pricing is a thing. So he'll end up in plenty, but just some interesting things that I've noticed. And then obviously the Vithio one where he just sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, so what I point out on the Schlatan is like he still projects as one of the highest jungles. And I don't know how you have Zanzara projected in a win, but I always have him super, super high. It's just a matter of them actually getting the win. But Schlatan for me is up there. The problem is when you look at the pricing for everybody around him, like he just, I don't know. I mean, I guess he projects better for me than guys like Malrang or Razork or these other guys that you're paying a premium price for. So that's kind of interesting. I will tell you that the reason that Carzy has that lower kill participation, I think goes a lot to how Vitality wins games, that, they don't group up and have a lot of these team fights because they just end the games a lot quicker. If this team was getting 19 or 20 kills per game when they won, as opposed to like the 15 or 16, I think every one of those kills would be ones that Carzy was involved in, and you'd see his numbers go up. But I mean, look, it's the end of the split. He's not there. He's totally somebody that you can leave out. I have been gravitating towards mid captains as opposed to ADC captains because we have seen an uptick across all of the leagues in those guys scoring the points. Vithio, nobody is surprised by that, but when we look at other guys, at least within the LEC, Larson has been a fantasy just fucker. Sertus, when SK wins, has put up a lot of points. You do have your lame Nuke Duck, Reeker, Dayor, and Humanoid, but these premium guys, even putting Perks and Nuclear into there, are guys that I like to get. And if I'm pairing the two teams, I'm happy to put both of those guys in there and mid captain it up.
I think I might have missed something. Can mid laners play Jinx? Is that a thing? Because I don't know why you would do that if you can't play Jinx. No, I'm kidding. But you mentioned Zanzara. I have him and Elioya fairly clear as the 2 best junglers in a win.
Fair. Same.
Yeah, that's what I have. So, and then I didn't mean to say like Schlatan wasn't fine. Among the other junglers that aren't those 2 guys, he's like right in the mix. I just thought it was interesting because like most of the other Misfits I have like really strong projections on, and his is just more like run of the mill, just because his numbers have been pretty low. And then Vitality, they do like a lot of skirmishing, like 2v1, 3v2 dive type things, right? And ends with Carzy not being super involved, like you said.
I think the one thing about Schlatan too is like, look, if you're 4 stacking Misfits, You want to find ways to get VTO and Neon in. Both of these guys have just been fantastic from a fantasy standpoint. When they win, Mursa's involved too. Like if he's playing well, they're playing well. So it does leave you with like, who do you leave out? Do you leave Zlatan out or do you leave Hero out? And I think the advantage that you get by leaving Zlatan out is just a significant dump of salary that you can put somewhere else. And so that's, maybe finding a way to put him in there will differentiate your lineup a little bit, but it certainly is going to be difficult from a pricing perspective. All right. So, hey, we're almost to the 11 o'clock hour. I know you've got lineups. I've got lineups. Let's just do kind of an overview here. Do you have like a favorite game or two games that you're going to be more heavily invested in? At least in the GPP. You don't have to tell me your winner take all, but I don't even know if I'm in your winner take alls, but
yeah,
where are we at?
Misfits is clearly it for raw expectation. I think that it's very clear that the combination of their upside and the betting line there, Misfits is probably the premium team on the slate to target. I think Astralis is totally fine in large field tournaments or even like not that large field tournaments. I think Astralis has a ton of upside and isn't dead by any means to win the game. And then both the G2 Excel game and Vitality Mad game, I think, offer a lot of just kind of like the uncertainty that you want in tournaments where, it can go a few different ways. You can stack Vitality, you can stack Mad Lions, you can stack G2, you can stack Excel and feel good about the fact that you've got all of them. I mean, like someone like Nathan might pick one side and go all in on it or whatever. But like, I just think that all those teams kind of offer the potential to really get there. And then obviously Fnatic and Rogue are not locks, but like pretty rock solid bets to win, but you don't see a ton of upside. I'll probably have somewhat minimal exposure to both of those in terms of like 4 stacks.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at the slate as an overall whole, I think Excel is going to be maybe the dog of choice. I think, would you agree that like they're the team that of all of the underdogs, they're the team that you see, obviously from an odds standpoint, but they're the one that's most likely to come out, win the game, and have a good score, as opposed to like Mad Lions, BDS, Astralis, or SK.
Yeah, I probably agree with you, but I would say Mad Lions is like a clear second, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's how people are going to perceive it. I'm going to go and veer a little bit weirder. I'm going to say I'm going to have probably more exposure to Astralis than I should.
I meant in terms of like ownership and what people would do. I didn't mean.
Sure. Yeah. No. Excel and Mad Lions were going to be 1 and 2 in the dogs, but I'm taking a stand here and I'm saying Astralis is the team that I can see upsetting the balance of this day. We haven't had a ton of dogs win the last couple of days, even in the LPL. It's been like 1 or 2. FPX made it more than a 1 dog day today. But yeah, look, I'm probably going to have a lot of those middle games. I think I'm going to try and find some ways to get Fnatic in there. I think that they could really pop off. People aren't going to own them. And, it's probably going to be like 4:30 and I'm going to be like, why did I do this? It's like a 15 kill game. So
I agree with you. I think Astralis is probably the best large field, like GPP play on the slate. Just because Misfits is going to be so chalky and Astralis has so much upside and you can pair them with whoever you want. I think they make a lot of sense. And I might be right there with you with like Astralis and Misfits as my 2 highest owned teams, or I don't know if you're playing Misfits or what, but I'll probably be on some Astralis as well.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. It was on, then it was off, then it was on again. Congrats on second place. I know how second place feels. It doesn't feel great, but it can feel a lot worse too. So,
so bad.
All right, guys. Be back later tonight. I don't know if it's going to be a typical Friday hangout, like getting wild and wasted stream. I kind of did that last night, so I'm probably going to not partake that heavily in that this weekend. But yeah, we've got LCS tomorrow. We've got LEC all weekend, and of course, a couple more LPL, LCK slates. Spring split's almost over, so thanks for watching, and good luck out there today.